Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a fascinating and sometimes heated topic, unpacking the Shona Controversy. Is it just about language or is it deeper, tied to identity? If you're from Zimbabwe or interested in African history, you've probably heard debates about the term Shona. It seems simple on the surface, but it's loaded with history, politics, and personal feelings. In this video, we'll break it down step by step using the outline I have here. We'll explore the historical roots, the language debate, identity beyond words, political influences, and end with a call for more understanding. I'll keep it in simple English, no fancy jargon, and aim to make it engaging. If you like this kind of content, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get started. So grab a snack, it's a deep dive. The lingering shadow of Shona. All right, let's start at the beginning. What is this Shona thing and why does it cast such a long shadow over people in Zimbabwe and beyond? The term Shona didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It has deep historical roots, mostly tied to colonial times. Back in the day, before Europeans arrived in southern Africa, the people we now call Shona were living in what is now Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and parts of South Africa. They were Bantu-speaking groups who built amazing stone structures like Great Zimbabwe. Yeah, that massive ancient city, that's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. These folks had kingdoms like the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, Mutapa, and Rosvi Empire. They traded gold, ivory, and copper with Arabs, Swahili, and even East Asians. Life was organized around chiefs, clans, and agriculture, growing millet, sorghum, and later maize. But here's where the term Shona comes in. It wasn't what these people called themselves originally. Groups identified as Karanga, Zezuru, Manyika, Korekore, Ndau, or others based on their dialects and regions. They saw themselves as subjects of a chief, not as one big Shona group. Historian Terence Ranger put it well. People defined themselves politically, not linguistically or ethnically. The term Shona emerged in the late 1920s and early 1930s thanks to colonial administrators in what was then Southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. They needed a way to classify and control the native populations for things like taxes, labor, and education. In 1929, a language committee was set up to find a common name for the people and their language. Linguist Clement Doak played a big role in 1931, grouping dialects into what he called Shona to create a standard language for schools and books. Initially, this was seen as a way to unify, like, hey, let's make communication easier. But in reality, it was divisive. Colonials used it to lump diverse groups together, ignoring their differences. Some early perceptions painted Shona as backward or pagan, especially their traditional religion where they worshipped Mwari, God, through ancestors and nature. Missionaries called it unholy to push Christianity. Fast forward to modern times and the realities have shifted. Today, Shona is the majority ethnic group in Zimbabwe, about 80% of the population, with around 15 to 22 million speakers worldwide. It's taught in schools, used in media, and even in politics. But not everyone buys into it. Some see it as a unifying label that celebrates shared heritage, like music with mbira instruments or stone sculptures. Others argue it's an imposed tag that erases subgroup identities, like the Ndau, who only started accepting Shona in the 1930s, but now have their own recognized language. Why is this term anything but simple? Because it touches on power, Who gets to name you? It sets the stage for bigger debates. Is Shona a real identity or a colonial leftover that still causes tension? We'll unpack that more as we go. Language as the locus of debate. Now let's zoom in on the language side because this is where a lot of the controversy heats up. Is Shona a single language or just a bunch of dialects that colonials forced into one box? Linguists classify Shona as a Bantu language in the S10 group. But here's the thing, it's more like a cluster of related ways of speaking. The main dialects are Zezuru, spoken around Harare, Karanga in the south near Masvingo, Manyika in the east, Korekore in the north, Ndau in the north, Mozambique and eastern Zimbabwe, and Karanga in the west. These aren't just accents, they have different words, grammar tweaks, and sounds. For example, Ndau has click sounds like in Zulu, thanks to Nguni influences from the 19th century. People from different dialects can usually understand each other. It's mutually intelligible, like how Spanish and Portuguese speakers get the gist, but not always perfectly. A Zezuru speaker might struggle with deep Ndau slang. So, is it one language? In everyday use, yes, but scholars debate it. In 2013, Ndau and Karanga were even recognized as separate languages because their grammar differs a bit. The diversity is rich. Take Zezuru, it's the basis for standard Shona used in books and TV. Subdialects like Shawasha or Harava add local flavors. Karanga has subdialects like Duma or Jena. Manyika includes Teve or Unyama. This tapestry shows how people adapted to their environments, mountains, plains, borders with other groups. But the power of naming is huge here. Colonial admins pushed standardization to make administration easier. Doak's 1931 report unified dialects into one orthography, writing system, replacing old symbols with Latin letters in 1955. This helped create literature. The first Shona novel, Fesso, came out in 1957, but it also marginalized some dialects. Standard Shona is mostly Zezuru, so others feel like their ways of speaking are dying out. Naming shapes identity. If you're told your dialect is just Shona, it might make you feel less unique. In politics, language was even weaponized. During the 1980s, Shona was used to identify victims. It can build belonging, like in schools where kids learn shared stories, but it can also divide if it ignores diversity. Think about it. Language isn't just words, it's how you express who you are. This debate shows why Shona as a label is so tricky. Identity, more than words. Okay, we've talked language, but identity goes way beyond that. Shona isn't just what you speak, it's about culture, heritage, and how you see yourself. First, other factors, shared history from ancient kingdoms, like building those 600-plus stone ruins called Zimbabwe in Shona. Genetics show mostly sub-Saharan African roots, no big outside mixes. Economics? Traditionally farming maize, beans, cattle herding, mining gold. Arts? Famous for mbira music, thumb piano for spirits, marimba, pottery, and stone sculptures that transform spirits into forms. Cultural practices unite and divide. The Mitupo system, clans with totems like animals, lion for one clan, elephant for another, avoids incest, builds solidarity. There are over 25 Mitupo in Zimbabwe. It's like family crests. Religion. Most are Christian now, 60 to 80%, but traditional beliefs in Mwari, God, ancestors, Vadzimu, and ceremonies like Bira, all-night rituals, persist. Unhu, a code of holiness and good conduct, guides life. What unites? Shared foods like sadza, maize porridge, hwawa beer, beef, music and dance in ceremonies, architecture, round huts in cleared yards, dry stone walls like at Great Zimbabwe. What divides? Subgroups have unique twists. Ndau incorporate Nguni words and cliques. Karanga might feel more separate. Urbanization and migration mix things up. Kids sometimes don't get a mutupo if born out of wedlock, losing part of their identity. Personal versus imposed identity is key. Many self-identify as Shona proudly, especially in diaspora, but others reject it. One professor says, Shona is not a tribe. Don't embarrass yourself. Ancestors might have called themselves Danda or TV, not Shona or Ndau. Imposed by colonials, it can feel like erasure. Some embrace it as a modern unity. Others see it as colonial baggage. Identity is personal. You might feel Shona at a national event, but Karanga at home. It's fluid, shaped by family, place, and history. The diaspora undercurrent. Now let's shift gears and talk about the Shona diaspora, the millions of people who left Zimbabwe and how they're shaping what Shona means today. This isn't about politics, but about how identity travels across borders. Zimbabweans have been leaving home for decades, especially since the economic challenges of the early 2000s. Over 3 to 4 million Zimbabweans live abroad, with big communities in South Africa, the UK, Australia, Canada, and the US. Many of these are Shona speakers, carrying their culture, language, and traditions to new places. In the diaspora, Shona often becomes a stronger identity. Why? Because when you're far from home, you lean on what connects you to your roots. In places like London or Johannesburg, Shona people form tight-knit communities. They hold cultural events like bira ceremonies to honor ancestors, even in small apartments. They cook sadza, play bira music, and teach kids Shona language through community schools or online apps. For example, in the UK, groups like the Zimbabwe Diaspora Network organize festivals where Shona dances and songs take center stage. But it's not all unity. The diaspora also highlights divisions. Some people stick to their subgroup identities, like being Karanga or Manyika, because those feel more personal. In South Africa, Ndau speakers sometimes form their own groups, emphasizing their unique dialect with click sounds. Younger generations born abroad might not even speak Shona fluently. They might identify as Zimbabwean or just African instead of Shona, especially if their parents didn't pass down a mutupo, totem, or traditional stories. Technology plays a big role here. Social media groups on platforms like WhatsApp or Facebook keep Shona culture alive. People share recipes, proverbs, or videos of traditional dances. Apps like Learn Shona help diaspora kids learn the language. But there's a flip side. Some argue that standard Shona, based on Zezuru, dominates these platforms, sidelining dialects like Ndau or Karanga. The diaspora also remixes identity. In new countries, Shona people blend their culture with others. For example, in the US, Shona music fuses with hip-hop or jazz, creating new sounds. Food adapts too. Sadza might be served with non-traditional sides like pasta. Intermarriage with other groups like Ndebele or non-Zimbabweans creates hybrid identities. Kids might grow up speaking English or Afrikaans at school, but Shona at home, leading to questions. Are they still Shona if they don't speak the language? Challenges exist too. In South Africa, some Shona face xenophobia, making them cling tighter to their identity for safety. Others feel pressure to assimilate, losing parts of their culture. Yet the diaspora also gives back. Many send money home, supporting schools or cultural projects in Zimbabwe, keeping traditions alive. The diaspora shows how Shona is evolving. It's not just about Zimbabwe anymore. It's global, fluid, and shaped by new experiences, but it also sparks debates about what being Shona really means. A call for nuance and understanding. We've covered a lot: history, language, identity, politics. So how do we move forward? It's time for nuance. A single label like Shona fails to capture the complexity. It's a cluster of dialects, clans, and histories, not one monolith. Simplifying it ignores the rich variations, like how Ndau or Karanga stand out. This can lead to erasure, where sub-identities fade. Instead, embrace diversity, celebrate the tapestry, different dialects, totems, music styles. Shona oral traditions contribute to global decolonization talks. Highlight arts like Mbira for healing or sculpture soul worldwide. Recognize modern challenges, economic crises, emigration, land reforms displace people, testing cultural continuity. Foster dialogue. Talk respectfully about identity. In Zimbabwe, more knowledge of pre-colonial politics could help decentralization, encourage conversations, online, in schools, communities. Don't dismiss tribalism, address it. For women, break barriers in politics. In a modern world, Shona can evolve, a starting point for pride, but not the end. Let's honor the past without being trapped by it. What do you think? Is Shona unifying or divisive? Comment below, like, share, subscribe for more. See you next time.